From controversial opinions surrounding her acting chops, to her blink and you'll miss scenes, here's why Denis Villeneuve was worried about casting Zendaya. The blockbuster sci-fi reboot of Dune first hit the screens in 2021, but of course casting started way before that. Naturally, with such a massive project coming to life, many actors started flocking to it. One of them vying for a role was Zendaya. In January of 2019, The Hollywood Reporter said Zendaya was circling the film and really wanted to work with Denis. After all, the French-Canadian filmmaker's a major Hollywood director. Even if most of his projects aren't blockbusters, they're still fan favorites. Also, the Dune reboot wasn't a small thing. Sadly, the previous attempt was less than thrilling, and the reboot was supposed to nail it the second time around. The franchise has massive potential, and some say it could be the next Star Wars. But there was one problem for Spider-Man's girl. Zendaya told Vogue nobody was even looking at her. With so many A-listers in the cast, Zendaya got lost in the shuffle. Still, the ex-Disney star said, "I really wanted to get in the room." So she tried getting on Denis' radar and finally landed an audition. Zendaya dazzled everyone watching her audition, Denis in particular. He was blown away by Zendaya, and those are his words, not mine. According to Villeneuve, the star introduced him to Chani. How cool is that? She also made the filmmaker believe she'd been raised in a harsh environment on an alien desert planet, just like a true Freeman warrior. Now that makes me super curious. What did she do? Well, whatever it was, it worked. Big time. Denis couldn't stop raving about her. He was all praise for the high precision of her acting skills, her intelligence, patience, generosity, and professionalism. Much like us, he wasn't immune to her charms either. What further helped Zendaya's cause was Euphoria. Now remember, this is about early 2019, and the HBO show dropped in the middle of that year, so nobody had seen the actress in her never-before-seen character, except for Villeneuve. He was fortunate enough to get a peek at the pilot episode, and the director totally loved her as Rue. Her chemistry with Timothée Chalamet was the final tick mark, and Tim said they had a beautiful rhythm. Wait, hold up. If everything was so picture perfect, why was the director worried about her casting? That brings us to the public response. A mixed reaction from fans was the only thing complicating matters. You'd think the masses would be all in for Zendaya joining the film, but you're wrong. Her fandom cheered and congratulated her for landing the role. But folks, don't forget there are two fandoms here. One is Z's Beehive, totally crazy about her. The other is much, much bigger than the actress. I'm talking about the Dune geeks. Don't take them lightly. Frank Herbert's book series is a sci-fi classic, first published in 1965. So imagine how huge the fan base must be. These fans were scarred by the 1984 adaptation attempt, so this time the stakes were way higher. So were the public expectations. But fans weren't too thrilled about the Malcolm and Marie actor. Many folks thought her audition was just for PR. After all, you can't deny the Zendaya fever, can you? Some said that a pretty face would distract viewers from the plot, but there was another concern. Some people believe filmmakers get lazy with big names, reducing A-listers to one-dimensional roles. That happens often in Hollywood, and it can trash the whole movie. With this, more opinions piled in. Some even attacked the Shake It Up star's acting skills. According to them, the star can only play herself. Ouch. So the audience had yet to see the Golden Globe Award winner's range, and her 7 minutes in Dune opened Pandora's box. Did you know that Zendaya wrapped the film in only a few days? That's all it took. You'd think a colossal project would keep her there for longer, but the actress only had a few on-screen moments, which had something to do with Denis splitting the novel in two. It was a risky decision, but it saved the reboot. Still, Denis was super worried. He feared public backlash for the star's limited screen time, and people did complain about how Zendaya was front and center in the promotions, while the film itself only had her in dreams. So for Zendaya's fans, this definitely wasn't cool. When you have big names like Zendaya, her fans will obviously want to see more. But as Denis explains, this was the Paul Atreides show. The filmmaker wanted to focus on the Atreides clan and how they wound up in Arrakis. Zendaya's only time in the spotlight was in Paul's dream sequences, which take place at the very end of the movie. Heck, she hardly spoke a word throughout Dune. But Denis still planned to upgrade the character in the sequel, if there was one, that is. And luckily, that time has finally arrived. Dune 2 officially makes Chani a lead. This good news comes from the filmmaker himself. Denis told Variety that Part 1 was a promise for Zendaya, but the second part's where the magic really happens. Denis has totally expanded Zendaya's role, and he's super stoked about it. So guys, be ready to see Chani and Paul's adventures in the desert. If you've read the books, you already know what Zendaya will be up to in the sequel. Near the end of the first novel, Paul and Chani have a son together. Sadly, this baby does not survive the story of the first Dune. However, Chani and Paul have more kids in the sequel book titled Dune Messiah. Now, I won't reveal what happens next, but Denis has said he has hopes to adapt the book as the conclusion of a Dune trilogy. So not only is Chani a huge part of the first novel, she also plays a crucial role in the second book, which will go on to become Dune Part 3. Even Chalamet has promised Zendaya will be on screen in greater abundance this time around. The beautiful boy finished filming before his co-star, so that means you can trust his statement. Zendaya really does have more scenes than him. Here's to justice for the underused character. Okay, so Villeneuve has resolved one part of the conflict, but there's still one question about Zendaya looming over Dune 2. Will it be able to reverse Zendaya's Chani criticism? It seems like some of the casting backlash has carried over to the film, and a few folks still weren't impressed with the star's acting. Especially considering her co-stars, Rebecca Ferguson's intensity and Timothy's vulnerable vibes delivering remarkable performances. I suppose in contrast to them, the Marvel star does seem dull. But come on, can you really blame her? She hardly had any time to show us her acting chops. Dune 2 will hopefully resolve this issue. But there's another issue popping up as well. Women's Media Center has brought up a serious concern, accusing the first film of privilege and fetishization. According to them, too many light-skinned stars make up the cast, and the showbiz industry gives them privileges over dark-skinned actors. To make matters worse, Chani's a major example of a fetishized person of color. Even if the sequel gives Zendaya more screen time, she'll still be there just to romance Chalamet, and that simply doesn't cut it. But here's the thing, Frank wrote her character that way. Denis may switch things up to give Chani more power in the movie adaptation, just as he did with Lady Jessica, who was only supposed to be a concubine. But Rebecca Ferguson's character is anything but that. Guess we'll have to wait for the sequel to see if these issues continue. Till then, better mark your calendars for November 3rd, 2023. And that's all I have about Denis' concerns over Zendaya's casting. So, from controversial opinions surrounding her acting chops, to her blink and you'll miss scenes. That's why Denis Villeneuve was worried about casting Zendaya.